All right, hello and welcome to our Estate Professional Spotlight and Q&A series. My name is Nordis Forcade-Martin. I am the founder and CEO of Florida Probate Partners, a real estate team that specializes in working with probate attorneys, professional guardians, and trust officers and helping them sell the real estate involved in their cases. During this series, we delve into the intricacies of probate and estate planning, and we do this with the goal of educating our community by showcasing the professionals who are problem solvers in this arena. As serious as this topic is, we like to bring light to these conversations, so do expect to have some fun. Welcome to our show. And today we have the pleasure of having co-founder and attorney at the Flourish Law Group. Love the name, by the way. Lauren Klein, welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Nordis. Thank you for having me. And thank you for the compliment on our firm name. We love it too.
Awesome. So Lauren, tell us a little bit about you.
Absolutely. So I am a South Floridian, born and raised. I have lived here my entire life. Found myself in law school, not really knowing if I wanted to practice. I just knew I wanted to get more education and it was around when the economy wasn't doing so hot in 2008, 2009. So I'm like, let me just see what I'm going to do with my life. Found trust and estates and tax law and really just fell in love. So I graduated from law school, went and got a tax LL.M up at UF in Gainesville and went into practice. And so I've been practicing in trust and estates exclusively for 12 years. I'm also a mom to two little boys who are 3 and 2. And then my third baby is my law firm, Flourish Law Group. And I own it with one of my best friends in the whole world of almost 20 years. And we love what we do, and we get to work together all day, which is really fun too.
That is so cool. So you're a boy mom here too.
I
have 2 bonus daughters. Yeah. And what an amazing and cool thing that you get to work with your best friend.
It is hands down the best thing. I'm like, why did we not do this sooner?
Love it. That's awesome. So let's get right into it. Tell us, Lauren, what are the biggest myths when it comes to estate planning?
Oh my gosh. Okay. So, we're on calls with clients all day, every day. And so we hear the same things over and over. I would say the biggest myths are, 1, I don't have enough money. I'm not wealthy, which, by the way, even our clients who have a lot of assets still come to the call. I don't have that much. They always preface the conversation and we're like, you do have a lot. You have a lot to protect. But truly, you don't need to be wealthy to need an estate plan. Anyone who's 18 or over should have something in place. It's like you start with the foundation and you build from there. 18-year-olds aren't really thinking about this, but once you become 18, you're an adult now. Your parents don't necessarily have any say in your healthcare decisions, your financial decisions. So having documents that say what happens if you're incapacitated for financial, legal, healthcare decisions, it's so important. It's so, so important. And then you build from there. Once you go into your career, you start having children, you start accumulating assets, there's always going to be something to protect, regardless of your level of wealth. So that's one of the biggest things that we hear. We also have a lot of clients come to us and they say, well, I'm in my 60s or 70s now. I guess it's time to start thinking about this. This is the time when I should start thinking about it. And we're like, oh my gosh, the time was, again, 18, in your 20s and your 30s. You don't need to be older, quote unquote, to need estate planning. It's another huge myth that we see time and time again. And I think a lot of people just focus on, what's going to happen to my assets. And that's a huge part of it. But I think a lot of people miss the piece of, what if something happens when I'm in surgery? Who have I designated to make decisions for me? Or what if I'm incapacitated and someone needs to pay my bills or needs to access something from a financial perspective? It can be very problematic if you don't have the right documents in place. And then for all my parents out there, naming who the guardians will be for your minor children in the very unlikely event that something happens to you is, as a parent, we try to do everything that we can to protect our family. I always tell our clients and people in our community, it will give you such peace of mind knowing that you have legally nominated the people who would care for your children if something happened to you. We always say you plan for the best, but sometimes you got to also plan for the worst and just hope that life goes as we all, want it to. So I would say those are the biggest myths and the things the common themes that we see in our conversations.
One quote that came to mind is, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail, right? So, and it's interesting that, again, going back to the name of your law firm, the beauty, I think one of the greatest beauties you see is also that if you do get someone who's young and thinking well and staying informed, and they start planning early on in life, that you get to see them flourish through life, where they started off as something as wanting to have something really simple to flourishing into a successful whatever they want to be, and you get to help them plan through that as well. That's pretty awesome.
Thank you. Our tagline is, we help families flourish at all stages of life, because we all know estate planning is not a one and done thing. It does grow with you as you go, through your life. So sure. Thank you.
Yeah. So are DIYs, estate plans, ever a good idea? Tell us about the do-it-yourself doers out there.
I mean, I don't want to say they're never a good idea, but I really don't think they're ever a good idea, because honestly, even just the execution process and the, each state, depending on where you reside, will have its own laws. But in Florida, there's certain requirements for each document and how it's signed and executed and notarized. So if it's not done properly, you literally just have a piece of paper. So at the very least, you might have something that's useless. As at different, varying levels of concern and issues, sometimes you can really just completely mess things up. You can really mess things up for your family. Things can be done improperly. I've seen documents that completely disinherit a child accidentally. I've seen a lot over the years, but I think one of the biggest missteps in doing a DIY is you don't know how to probate proof your estate. No one really knows how to do that on their own. And maybe you own some joint assets. So you say, okay, if something happens to me, my spouse will just inherit, or, you have life insurance where you've named somebody. But if you are not actively checking in on your assets to see how are they titled, are there beneficiary designations, what's going to happen if XYZ happens, if this spouse passes first or this spouse passes first, or if you have blended families, there's just so many things that can go awry. And we handle so many probates at our firm, so many, that I'm like, oh my goodness, if they had just done a little bit of planning, just a little bit, like a ladybird deed on their home, or gone to their bank or gone online and just put someone on their account as a beneficiary. If they had just done those little things, they could have avoided families not having access to funds, having to pay us to open the estate. And just at a time when you're grieving and you're dealing with the loss of a loved one, to have to deal with all of that extra stuff that you can avoid so easily, it's why we do what we do, because it makes me so mad that there is a lack of education out there. And that's why what you're doing and the content that you're putting out is so important, because it will save families money and heartache. It really will.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And one common thing I see as I meet with different estate planning professionals, whether it's an attorney or a professional guardian or anyone in this world, financial advisors, they usually are in it. Those that are in it for the right reasons it's typical that they really hurt when they see that families go through these scenarios, only because they didn't plan accordingly or because they didn't have the information. Because a lot of times I think families would also choose to plan if they knew worst case scenarios, right? Which I think leads us into the next question, and such a big misconception. As a real estate agent, one of the main things I keep hearing from clients is, I have everything set up, my will is done. And I cringe every time I hear it, because I know that somehow that conversation didn't go any deeper when they were preparing their will with their attorney or with whoever helped them, or maybe that unfortunately attorney didn't have the experience, or that wasn't really their forte. They were just a general attorney that said, I'll help you with preparing your will, and didn't ask, what is it that you're really doing this for? And are you really thinking that you're going to be protected by doing this? So, Lauren, what is the difference between a will and a trust?
So we always tell our clients, and this is kind of a colloquialism, it's kind of funny, but if you have a will, there will be a probate. And that's not always true, because we do have some clients who their children are all adults, they're financially responsible. We can help them avoid probate with certain types of deeds and beneficiary designations on their bank accounts. And then they're just doing a will and those other, the power of attorney and healthcare documents. But for the vast majority of Americans, and specifically Floridians, a will is not enough to avoid probate, and it can cause a lot of issues. So oftentimes our clients are asking us and having us, once we've educated them, to prepare both a will and a revocable trust. And there's so many benefits to a revocable trust. I won't get into all of them, but the main ones are it can help you avoid probate. It can put guardrails in place for your beneficiaries and how and when you want them to receive assets and what are distributions and when they can have even control. There's so many things, over the years, most of my clients at my prior firm were all high net worth, ultra high net worth, talking multi-millionaires and billionaires. They know all the secrets and they had access to this very expensive legal advice. But the reality is that a lot of that advice pertains to all of us. All of us. It's wealth building, and it's not even that complicated. And that's what a trust really does. It's a private document that allows you to not have all your information made public in a probate. And it really does allow you to plan for your family in a way that you can customize and curate for what you're looking for. So a big part of our consultations and our meeting with clients is going on a deeper dive into that information on what the will does and what the trust does and when you need both. And 9 times out of 10, we recommend, it's always the client's choice, but we recommend that they have both. Most of our clients will still have a will. That's where you name your personal representative to administer your estate. And if you have minor children, that's where you name the guardian. But we call our trust-based plan the gold plan because it's the gold standard for most of our clients. And so I think those are the biggest differences. And I hate when I see someone having only a will and it's like 25 years old, because I think in their head it was like, oh, I did it, check box, I'm good. Mm-hmm. When they really have no idea on the implications or what it actually does.
Yeah, absolutely. So you mentioned probate, and mainly estate planning is in place usually to avoid probate. So what is it? What is probate, and what are some things that can be done to avoid it?
So the probate process is where you pass away with assets in your individual name. So not in a trust, not jointly held. There's no beneficiary designation, transfer on death. And so your family needs to bring, if you have a will, before a judge. If you don't have a will, then you have an intestate estate. Brings that before the judge, and either the will dictates what happens to your assets, or if you don't have a plan, then Florida law is your estate plan, and that says who gets what, which may not be what you want. Everything goes before a judge in a public, judicial setting. Everything becomes public information. You have to hire an attorney. Typically in Florida, for most estates, are required to hire an attorney. So you have to pay the attorney legal fees. Your family may not have access to the funds for anywhere from 6 months to years and years, depending on the situation and the county and what's going on. And it's really, in most cases, a very unnecessary, burdensome, even heartbreaking situation. I've seen so many things over the years, so many stories. One situation where a husband and wife, everything was in the husband's name, like nothing was in the wife's name at all. Husband died, no estate plan. She had no access to anything. And it was literally a year and a half before she could get access to any of their funds. It was, for all intents and purposes, it was both of their funds, but everything was titled in his name. In other situations where you have blended families, you have children from a prior relationship and you just have very simple wills. So everything goes to surviving spouse, But that means surviving spouse can write out those adult children. They can do whatever they want with those assets if they've inherited them in their individual name. And that's probably not what the decedent would have wanted. So there's just so many things. And I think it just really boils down to a lack of education and people not having that information to then make informed decisions.
Thank you so much for clearly stating how it can affect families. And so, Lauren, last question related to this topic is, do I need to worry about estate tax?
So currently in 2024, if you're a US citizen or permanent resident, you can give away or die with about $13 million. That's what's known as our unified credit. In the US, we have a gift and estate tax that is unified. So many people do not have to worry about estate and gift tax if you're married, 26 million plus. That number does change if you're non-US. So for all those out there who might be listening that say are non-US and have that Miami condo, it's only $60,000 as your exemption. So definitely talk to a qualified attorney to make sure that you're protected and your family doesn't have to pay estate tax. So many people don't have to worry about it. There is a potential change in the law at the end of 2025. That number is set to go back down if nothing changes to about 7 million a person. So still a lot of money before people need to worry about estate and gift tax, but that will then include a lot more people, especially with the prices of real estate and things like that. Mm-hmm. And that's just, everyone needs estate planning, whether they have that level of wealth or not. But if you do have a taxable estate, there's just additional planning that needs to be done.
Understood. Awesome. So we appreciate all of this insight, and we've got into the fun part of this interview where we get to know you, Lauren, on a more personal level. Lauren has no idea what these questions are. It's a lightning round.
I love it.
So we promise it's going to be fun. So Lauren, what do you feel has been your luckiest moment?
Ooh, my luckiest moment. Let me think about that. I would say before I started my firm and I was in big law, I had a really long drive. And so I would listen to real estate investing podcasts every day on my way from Fort Lauderdale to Miami. And I really wanted to invest in real estate. And we took a chance and bought 2 investment properties when I was pregnant in the middle of COVID. And everyone thought we were crazy. And I think my husband thought I was crazy, but it felt like a very lucky moment because those properties appreciated and no one was buying.
We all know what that did. We all know the rest of that. Yes, we're jealous of you right now. Talk about a vision, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's awesome.
Absolutely.
What is something you have done that you would never do again?
So my law partner and I went skydiving together when we were college roommates. So we went skydiving together at 18. We've talked about whether we would do it again or not. And I'm not sure I would do it. She says definitely not. I say probably not. Mm-hmm. I may be good, one and done.
That's an answer that it wouldn't surprise me. Like you tested it once. One is more than enough.
Especially once you have kids, you're like, is it worth it? I don't know.
And you're in the estate planning world, so you kind of know.
But I think the flip side of that is we all are going to go at some point, right? Like none of us knows. So we just have to live our lives to the fullest because you never know. But I'll probably not do that one again.
Have you ever met a celebrity?
I have been really unlucky in my celebrity meetings. I think I saw Joey Fatone at an ale house in Orlando, like years and years ago. I think it was him. I don't know. Like, I feel like in South Florida, there's celebrities everywhere, and I don't have good luck with finding them.
So if there were one celebrity that you would want to meet, who would that be?
Ooh, probably Cameron Diaz. I love Cameron Diaz. She's just my spirit animal, soul sister.
Love it.
Awesome. My husband almost saw a celebrity last night. He went to the Panthers game and he was at Elbow Room. And apparently after he left, some of the Panthers were there.
Oh, that's awesome.
With the Stanley Cup.
They went with the Stanley Cup?
Yes.
Oh,
love.
what a treat that would have been. So we were watching the game at home, and I tried to catch it on our camera how we reacted to their win. That was an awesome game.
So good.
It was an awesome game.
So
So
good.
last question is, what is the best piece of advice you've ever received?
I think there's so many, but I think the best, hands down, the best piece of advice I've ever received is don't take advice from someone who isn't where you want to be in life.
Love it. All right. That's awesome. Great
That
way
was
to end
fun.
this. Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us, Lauren, and sharing your expertise and allowing us to get to know you on a more personal level. How can our followers reach you?
So if you're interested in learning more about our law firm, it's flourishlawgroup.com. We're also active on all the social media platforms, but in particular, Instagram. So it's at Flourish Law Group. Or if you want to follow me, I'm a lot more active on my personal. It's at lawyer Lauren Klein. And we would love to connect with anyone who has questions. We do a lot of webinars, so definitely go to our website, get on our mailing list, because we do a lot of, just like this, we love to educate our community, so we'd love to connect with you.
Awesome. Love it. I love people that love to educate and share this info. So thank you so much, Lauren. We look forward to seeing you again here soon. And we appreciate everyone that's watching. Thank you.
Thank you.